to the Pressfeed NetVibes webinar. And this is going to be a really interesting webinar. It's about social PR tools and trends. And we're right at the end of 2013 and looking into 2014. So it's a great time to be looking at all these subjects. And I just want to tell you a quick little tiny bit about Pressfeed. We are your hosts for this webinar. Pressfeed is the social online newsroom. So if your newsroom still looks like this one on the left, just a bunch of links and hopefully not in PDFs, which a lot of them still are. But if your newsroom looks like that, what you need to do is think about upgrading it and getting into this whole idea of social PR tools. And that's what we do at Pressfeed. It is one of the social PR tools. But we're going to actually hand you over now to our guest presenter for today. I'm just going to switch over to him. Hang on one second. And I'm going to tell you about him while we do this. It's Vincent Chang, and he has been in technology and communications for more than 12 years, both on the agency and on the in-house side of the fence, from Accenture to Antenna PR to Universal Studios. And now he works for NetVibes as the Director of Strategy, User Experience and Marketing, and he helps agencies and top brands design their own custom social analytics solutions. So what we're going to be talking about today is the fact that technology is advancing at such a rapid pace, and there seem to be more tools and platforms popping up every other week. And in general, PR people are not really very technically oriented, so this can be a challenge for us. But there are so many marvelous tools out there, and the technology is offering us so many different ways to take control of content and PR and measurement that we really need to get our brains around this. So we're looking at this explosion of social data and what tools are out there for PR agencies and in-house teams in 2013 and 2014. What are the clients looking for? What are you looking for to give to the clients as you're going forward? Are traditional forms of reporting still enough? Are your seniors and your clients demanding more all the time? Are you on the edge of the curve? Are you up to the challenge? So we want to give you some information about this. And just a little housekeeping. You can type your questions in anytime throughout. I will be watching for the questions, and I will be asking the questions to Vincent as we go along. So I'm your moderator, and I'm going to hand you over now to Vincent Chang from NetVibes.
Hi, thanks, Sally. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Today, we're going to do kind of a fast-paced overview of the many, many, many different types of social tools that are out there for PR agencies. It seems like almost every day there's something new that's popping up on the market, and I think that a lot of agencies aren't necessarily prepared to go through and evaluate each and every tool. So it's kind of nice to have a broad overview. We did a recent survey of top agencies, and we have some interesting results and feedback on the types of tools that they're using. So I'll be sharing some of that with you today. But before we get started, there's a lot of, I would say, gibberish out there on the market, such as strange acronyms and funny social marketing theories. So out of the last few conferences and webinars that I've attended, I've heard quite a few funny ones, things that perhaps many of you might not have heard of. and they get quite silly. So does anybody know what ROE is? And actually, it's return on experience, and there's acronyms like BIG for blended interest graph. And this is something that, first we started with Facebook's social graph, and now Twitter's pushing the interest graph, and some agencies are now trying to take that one step further and saying, well, we don't just offer an interest graph, we offer a blended interest graph. Of course, there's TCP, i.e. the Conversation Prism version 4.0, and you can buy the poster for that. And there's DCJ, and I don't think anybody could possibly guess this, but it stands for the 5 pillars of new media strategy, i.e. the dynamic customer journey, the 7-step process throughout the influencer loop. Does this make sense to anybody whatsoever? Well, it sounds nice, and it's funny, and it's entertaining, and it's great when you're going to these conferences, but oftentimes you go to these conferences, you go to these webinars, and you hear these phrases being thrown about, and the theories sound great, but then at the next morning you're there talking to your client, and your client's looking at their media report, and they're looking at the press clippings you've given them, and you're going over the latest PR campaign that you're doing, and they're asking you, what's my ROI? Why am I paying you? And what are the real results? They don't care about ROE or DCJ or TCP or the notorious BIG. What they care about is real results. And PR practitioners have always been highly practical in this, much more so than I believe than some of like advertising and creative agencies. PR agencies really have been very practical and minimalistic in many ways in the types of tools they pick, and for good reason, because at the end of the day they're the ones that need to react the fastest on behalf of their client, whether it's reacting to an emerging crisis or a new trend on the market. Communications professionals are the ones that need to get the messages out there as fast as possible, as accurately as possible, and so they don't have time to mess around with theories. So today we're not going to bother with any theories. We're just going to dive right in and take a look at some of the different types of social tools that are out there and some of the different categories of social tools that are available for PR agencies. Secondly, we're going to talk about how this explosion of social data and the tools that follow it are changing some of the needs and demands that are happening on the client side of the fence. How is this big social data changing what they're looking for, and how are their communications needs changing? And finally, we're going to put it all together with some practical next steps on how can we rethink our traditional client reporting process, media reports, press releases, and the way that we communicate to clients using these tools. Because no matter how good the tool is, at the end of the day, what the client sees are the results that you hand them. And so after looking at the tools and what the clients want, we'll look at how to communicate that correctly to deliver the new types of results that clients are looking for. So that sounds good. Hopefully we'll get through this probably in about a half an hour, so we'll finish early. We'll have time for Q&A. If you have any questions in the middle, please feel free to just type it into the question box, and Sally will field that. Feel free to just jump in whenever you're interested. And with that, we'll get started. So when we think about the social tools landscape, it's not necessarily a pretty picture. Not only are there a bunch of different categories of tools, such as social intelligence versus social advertising or social marketing, social commerce, but it's kind of exponential in the sense that every time there's a new social network or a new community, there's going to be a new whole ecosystem of tools to analyze that community. So recently, over the past year, you've seen the rise of Pinterest, and now we're seeing the emergence of Pinterest-specific analytics tools. And tomorrow there will be yet another very important community for us to participate in, new social network, new online communities, and there will be new analytics tools for that as well. So there is absolutely no way to evaluate every single tool in the market, but I wanted to take a step back and try to simplify things a little bit. Earlier this year, I worked with the 4As. NetVibes works with a lot of Fortune 500 brands and many different types of agencies, ranging from advertising agencies to PR agencies and everywhere in between. But in particular, we focused this research study on integrated and so-called digital agencies that do everything from both the creative side and the communication side. And what we found was when we asked them the question of how much do you spend on social tools, we found some interesting results. You can see in this chart that agencies tend to spend less than $100 a month or between $1,000 and $5,000 a month. Right, so it's a big difference in what agencies are spending. So the first theory might be that big agencies spend more and small agencies spend less. But when we look much closer at the data, it turns out that that's not necessarily the case. Not really, because we found that a lot of small agencies, some boutiques, were actually spending quite a lot of money, many thousands of dollars on social tools. And some large agencies, some global agencies, were really spending less, very little per office for their social tools. So the question is why? Well, it comes down to the categories of what types of tools people are using. By far, the most used tool was Google Analytics, because everybody wants to track the way that links are being shared and clicks on websites and things like that. But we can kind of remove that from the equation. When I say social tools, I'm talking about tracking specifically social activities, social monitoring on the web, not just website or link traffic, for example. So when we look at the second and third most popular tools, they were Hootsuite and Radian6. And these are vastly different tools at vastly different price points. And so why would one agency pick one tool over another? I've been using social monitoring tools ever since I was working at a PR firm back in 2005, 2006. And since then, I've watched the growth of the different categories of tools. I really think the first round, the early adoption, and actually PR agencies were among the first to really jump on the bandwagon here, is this notion of social media management. The idea that you can post and publish campaigns on behalf of the client, help give them insight on what to communicate on Twitter or on Facebook, and to really help them understand the number of impressions they're getting, the number of followers they're getting, and how to respond to the different conversations that are going on. Now, these tools are exemplified by tools like Hootsuite. Typically, they cost $100 a month or much, much less. Again, it's primarily for posting and publishing your social media campaigns, having relationships with your customers and audiences on the web. Now, once we got closer towards 2011 and onwards, we saw the rise of social monitoring and analytics tools. And really, the purpose of these tools are for insights and automation, in the sense that you're not capable of going out on Twitter every day and analyzing every single one of those 10,000 tweets every morning, right? So with automated analytics tools, you can get an automated view of what is the general sentiment of this audience on a certain topic. What related keywords, what words, what language do they use to describe your product, your competitors? Who are the key influencers? These tools are much more advanced because they use advanced algorithms and crawling tools to go out there and really harness these trends and put them right in front of you so that you don't have to manually go through tens of thousands of posts and conversations yourself. It's very helpful for analysis, for research, and for giving clients more than just the execution angle of communications, but also that thought leadership. What's the right strategy? Is the audience more on Twitter, or are they more on Facebook for your women's shoe campaign? What time of day do they like to interact with your company? What do they think about your latest product? These insights can help drive your next press release, help drive your next news story. And so these tools typically cost quite a lot more, $500 a month, ranging to many, many thousands per month. So let's take a quick overview of what some of that first category is. Again, social media management. That's the publishing aspect, managing Twitter and Facebook for your clients and participating and understanding those conversations on the web. There's one of the market leaders is Hootsuite. You can see in our survey that they were the top tool used by many agencies, primarily because it's so cheap. Typical accounts start at $9 or less per month. It allows you to track multiple Twitter or Facebook accounts at once, schedule posts that will go out to these different handles and properties at different times. And it also gives you some very, very basic analytics. So when I say analytics, you're looking at things like the number of likes, the number of followers, tracking those over time. But you're really not getting deep into more advanced questions like what are the sentiments and feelings on a certain topic, or what is my media breakdown outside of social media? For example, what are traditional journalists saying outside of social media? What are analysts saying? So those are some of the limitations, but again, the advantages are that it's very quick, very cost-effective, very simple to use, and a great way to get started in terms of helping your clients get a handle on their social media. Another popular tool is Sprout Social. The price range is between $59 to $99 a month. They add a little bit more in terms of some of the demographics that they offer. They also kind of have an inbox-oriented approach so that you can help respond to each and every conversation. Now, a lot of PR firms are not in the business of managing every single conversation on behalf of their client. Ideally, you want to position yourself more strategically. However, it's important to understand these tools because you might have to manage some critical communications periods, i.e. a crisis, a product launch, on behalf of your client, and really take the reins of their account. And it's also important because most of your clients are using tools like this to respond in terms of customer service, for example, to each and every single conversation that's going on. TweetDeck is also another popular tool. It's actually free now. It was, I believe it was acquired by Twitter. My memory is a little fuzzy here, but it's offered for free now. It's much more simplified, and it's really strictly for helping your team gather together and manage your posts, and not so much on the analytics end. One of the newest tools, I actually just was talking with Sally yesterday about it. She's launching a new tool called Meritus Digital, which is a social media management tool that's specifically tailored for PR professionals. And I actually was pretty impressed by the overview that I got yesterday. Essentially, you can link in a variety of different accounts, whether it's your Google Plus or your Facebook page, but you can also tie in your email list. So if you have an email list of your journalists, for example, and then you create a message and send it out. Now, if your message contains an image, for example, as you know, Twitter doesn't have that built-in image display capability, but if you add an image, the system will automatically embed that into your tweets and your Facebook posts and create the relevant link so that they can see the photos. And so it's a really helpful tool really to broadcast your communications across a wide variety of tools. In return, it also shows you how your community has responded to those tools, such as what time of day they responded and did they retweet your message across all of those different channels. And lastly, the thing that I really liked was that it contains a very basic CRM, basic contact database. So again, we have a wide range of people in our audience right now. Some people have very advanced tools, and some people don't. If you're working at a smaller boutique agency, you might not have a complicated CRM system. Maybe you just use FileMaker or keep your own records of which journalists you like to communicate with. So if you have a more informal approach, this Meritus Digital has kind of a built-in, very simple CRM where you can keep track of your journalists and save their contact information, more than just email, but also their Twitter and Facebook, which I think is also very helpful. Sally, so really quickly before we move on to the next category, tell me a little bit more about how you start. Why did you start creating this tool specifically?
Vincent, really because I am the kind of person that wants everything to work in one place.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like, I know that there are things out there, many, many different tools, and you can use sometimes 3 or 4 tools to get what you want and get it all done. But that means you have to go into this one, do this, but go out, go into that one, do that, this.
Right.
I think I'm basically lazy.
like I said, PR people are very practical, right? They don't.
That's correct.
So
efficiency is my god. Let's get this thing done. I want it all in one place, and so I have been, for about 4 or 5 years, I've been working with different companies and different development teams,
mm-hmm.
and then saying, yeah, I love your tool, but why can't it do that?
Right, right.
No, we don't do that. And
right.
then eventually I found a team that was interested in really getting it together, and they had definitely the best that I had seen so far,
mm-hmm.
and they were interested in working with me to say, yeah, but I want
sure.
this.
Right.
I think PR people need this feature and that feature, and so
mm-hmm.
that's what we have now. And the more I use it, the
right.
more I love it.
Great. Excellent. And Sally, I've been talking to a whole bunch of different PR consultants, trainers, and also the agencies themselves. And the ones that have been using social tools for some time, quite simply, are fed up by tools that don't do exactly what they want. And so I'm seeing 2 kind of trends in the market. The first trend is really specialization. So here we have an example of a social media management and publishing tool, really, specialized for PR people and the way they work. For example, the inclusion of strong email lists and group management and CRM, very specific types of PR needs. Whereas some of the purest social tools might not include standard things like email lists. And the second thing that I'm seeing on the market is, and you raised this point exactly, it's just this customization, right? Getting it tailored to exactly how you want it to work for your workflow. And we'll get more into that in a second. But I think that's a really interesting case of how Sally has kind of taken the reins and created her own tools. In fact, I'm seeing a lot of agencies do exactly the same, call up a few developers and invest and start to create the perfect tool for their agency.
And I totally agree with you, because I've seen this also in like companies that do marketing for the travel and destination field.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They also have specific needs.
Mm-hmm.
Food and restaurants particularly, they have specific needs. So
exactly.
I do think that is going to be a trend.
Yes, yeah, and definitely much more industry-specific customization. Yeah, I've seen similar things in the financial industry. For example, they have financial industry and even pharmaceutical industry-specific tools that help you, of course, do this type of social monitoring, but also bring in the regulatory aspect as well.
Right.
And
financial.
Yeah, exactly, and financial and market, releases and things.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great overview of where things are headed for the first category of tools. Again, social media management and publishing. Every agency at a minimum should have that. so that they're prepared to, I mean, if nothing else, to manage their own social media presence, but also to be prepared to take the reins and help your clients with their accounts during those key moments of need. Now, the second category that we're going to get into, social monitoring and analytics, I really wanted to point everybody to this. Actually, Sally, I'm going to try to play this video. If it works, that's great. I'm not sure if it will.
Yeah, this is tricky on GoToWebinar, I have to tell you.
Okay, so why don't we skip that video, but I will give this deck to everybody later on, and you can watch this video. It's just a couple of minutes long. I saw it on PR Daily yesterday, and I really thought it was interesting. So Taylor PR, right, is in this interview, they started talking that they're hiring non-traditional PR people, people that have industry-specific business knowledge, right? So these are people without PR backgrounds, and why are they hiring them? Well, instead of being relegated to this category of just the execution aspect, like, hey, send out this press release for me, or manage this social communications program for me, they really want to get back to doing what historically PR agencies have done, which is becoming the strategic advisor for clients. So they need to have these industry-specific insights. And he gave this, and there's examples of such as, like, let's say you're working in industry, let's say women's athletics, and you have a women's athletics advisor or insights analyst on your team. Now that person can say, don't bother with Facebook or Twitter, because your audience, women over 40 who exercise and wear Athletica clothes, are only on Pinterest, and they like these 3 colors and not those 4 colors, and they can help guide you with these insights before you even start your campaign. This is what will help you win those key client accounts and make you seem like the thought leader, but again, before you even start your campaign. So, so the question, though, is, from a practical perspective, PR agencies are PR agencies. They're not, business consultants. They're not McKinsey. But is there a happy in between? And I really think yes, because a lot of PR professionals have been working in their clients' industries for quite some time. The only thing that they're really missing is the data, or the actual analytics. With the right data, they can go to their clients and say, this is why I know that this is, this data proves why we should run the campaign this way before we even get started. So to really deliver those insights, we really start talking about social analytics tools. This is beyond the Hootsuites and just the simple posts and publishing, but we're really getting into trend analysis, sentiment analysis, influencer analysis. And there's a variety of tools. I'm just going to cover them very quickly. There's so many. One of them is Meltwater Buzz. Many of you know, they started off as a media reporting service, and since then they've launched their own social analytics tool. Typically, typical packages start at $1,250 a month, which includes usually a set of search results. Most of these tools have a limited set of search results. In this case, 300,000, which sounds like quite a lot. But if you're managing a large client, a large brand, one search might return 300,000 results, in under a week. So, so keep in mind that a lot of these analytics tools are kind of pay as you go. Vocus, again, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Vocus. Traditionally, as a journalist database and campaign management tool, has since added a variety of more, I feel, more basic social analytics tools kind of tacked on to their traditional product. Typically starting at $1,000 a month for tracking only 3 searches, i.e. 3 brands a month. Now the limitation there, though, is, well, what if you want to get more detailed? What if you really want to, within that brand, analyze the 15 different products that they run, or their presence in 22 different countries specifically? So you can see that there's certain limitations there. However, there are advantages in the sense that if you already use Vocus and you're familiar with using them for your campaigns, it's a great way to kind of get started in the world of social analytics. But it is, in many ways, limited in the amount of research and analysis you can do for those reasons. Sysomos was acquired by MarketWire and in our survey was one of the most popular solutions. They really do have quite strong analytics, especially for kind of guesstimating, because nothing's perfect, some of the demographics of where people are saying it, and showing some visual charts of how their conversations are related, certain keywords of how they're related.
Vincent?
Yes?
You
Can you
see
hear me?
this on the left-hand side, that one with like a little circle with orange dots on it?
Yes.
That is a feature of Sysomos that I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
That little thing tells you which conversations are related to other conversations. And when you're doing this kind of insight audit,
Mm-hmm.
Sysomos is a great tool for that. It has some really good features. I like it a lot.
Yes, definitely. This notion of discovery, when you're doing your research, it's not just typing in a keyword, like I want to analyze this, right? But also when you can discover what are the top conversations that are going on and really see how these conversations are interrelated, then you can start to paint a much more cohesive picture for your clients, as opposed to just analyzing something after the fact or analyzing a campaign after the fact.
I'll give you an example of one where we used that tool.
Mm-hmm.
Was for a client that makes a natural organic ginger brew.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking for things that people were talking about to see where their interests and trends and purchase intent lay. And it was coming up towards holiday time, pretty much about similar to now in the year. This was a couple of years back. And we discovered from that little circle of related conversations that people were very interested in holiday cocktails, and connected to it was
Mm-hmm.
also like celebrity bartenders.
Mm-hmm.
And so we suggested to the client that they should do a campaign and get some of these celebrity bartenders to make a holiday cocktail using their ginger brew.
Right.
And then they made little videos of those, and then they did a competition. We
Mm-hmm.
looked up to see how many cocktails actually had ginger beer or ginger brew in them.
Mm-hmm.
And there weren't that many, and so they then did a contest on you make up your own, and they had these videos of these fancy schmancy bartenders doing their thing and making beautiful holiday cocktails.
Right.
And it worked extremely well, but that's the kind of thing that this guy is talking about in the video,
Mm-hmm.
where you gain the insight and then you create the content that taps straight into that interest.
Exactly. And when we talk about communications, it's really a creative field. So when you're looking at these tools, many of these tools were originally designed from the perspective of data analysts. And of course, PR people, we're not data analysts, right? We're creative communications people. So so a lot of these interfaces, Radian6 is one of the market leaders, great tool, really powerful, and but you can tell kind of at first glance that it's really originally engineered from the perspective of the data analyst, meaning if you know exactly which search query to run, which filters to apply, then you'll know what to analyze. But from the perspective of a PR communications person, you're really there from a discovery perspective, right? You just want to see who are those top influencers, what are they talking about, and then click through, drill down, see how things are related until you realize that, oh, it's about ginger beer and celebrity cocktail makers, which is maybe not where you started, because you never know where you start once you start your research process. And so please keep that in mind when you're evaluating these tools, not just the technical features, but also the realistic, the user interface is so important, because if it doesn't fit into your team's current workflow, that creative process, then it's not going to be as useful to your team if they don't like to use that. So I think we're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to kind of speed things up a little bit. So simply measured,